What's going on, you guys? It's your boy 3Stacks in this thing. I'm very enthused to be hearing from y'all. I've been receiving a lot of good feedback, and I'm really happy about it, man. And I really appreciate what you guys do for me. It may seem minute, but that stuff really does touch me deeply in my heart, and it really puts a smile on my face. So I do appreciate how you guys support me. Just the little things, even as simple as just saying something like Happy Thanksgiving or something like thank you for all that you do. Trust me, I read all your comments. And I pay attention to everything, and I really do appreciate you guys a lot. Honestly, without my subscribers, I would be nothing. So you guys are my bread and butter. You feel me? You're the heart and soul of my deck. You feel me? But today I'm going over the update on a deck that I've been running for quite some time. I'm really loving this deck. That's why I keep doing updates on it. Because out of all the decks I have, aside from my Herald of Perfection, this is one of the decks. Well, this is probably the deck at the moment that I'm working on the most. Always trying to find ways to increase my ceiling. And right now, it's shooting through the roof. It's skyrocketing. This is the highest selling build I could come up with. I've been like figuring out how to fit the most powerful engines in the deck without interrupting its consistency. And this is what I've come up with thus far. There's like maybe one or two tweaks I want to do with it. And that's probably just to find room for the third spear mode, and then find a way to tech in the dark hole into my side deck. You'll see how things have changed. I'm not main decking the dark hole. Actually had to cut a couple cards to put cards in my main deck. And then in addition to that, I'm still trying to find ways to, make space for like one or two cards, like I said. So the deck still might go through one smaller change, but this is overall, the grand scheme of things, this is what I want my deck to look like. And I feel like this will give me the most high competitive edge, the highest competitive edge against any deck. And I just want it to be as versatile as possible, going first or second. So without further ado, we're going to hop right into my main deck. Starting off with monsters, we play the obligatory 2 copies of Masterpiece. This monster has allowed me to play through almost every single unbreakable board by itself. He's almost untouchable in nearly every matchup you make him on, especially when you're dealing with your opponent's board on your turn. It's a bit more difficult for them because most people, the popular way to get over Masterpiece is by attacking over him. But when it's your turn, Battle Phase has been relinquished over to you, so it's a bit more safe to play with your Masterpiece, and he really does help you. Every time you summon him, you're breaking boards, and he's a standalone card. He's one of the reasons why you can play so many different spells, traps, and hand traps and kind of just get away with it, because ultimately just dropping one of these, you can secure your game just with this alone. And it's kind of like Protect the Castle sometimes, and if not, you're actually going into some really, really nutty combos. But I love this card so much because he has not only saved my life, but he has definitely gotten me game. I've actually had people just scoop on me because they could not deal with the Masterpiece, and dropping multiples really does come up because the deck is really, really consistent. So I love this card a lot. I used to hate him, and then as I started playing him with True Kings, I just feel like he synergizes well with True Kings. I like him a lot. So I would never really play like a pure Draco deck. That's just not my style, but I love Masterpiece. He's the only Draco, aside from the chicken that I run. I had to cut her down to 1. This is something that really hurts me because I loved opening up with her in Diagram. It was so essential to this card, to this deck's playstyle, to basically open up with a Masterpiece. Like if you open up with this in Diagram, you've literally opened up with Masterpiece. And a Masterpiece by itself, if your opponent's able to out him, it always costs multiple resources, which the main playstyle I'm going for this deck is I'm trying to snatch as many cards out of my opponent's hand, drain as much of his resources as possible, so the next boss monster I drop, they'll either A, have one more out left for it, or B, have no outs and not enough resources to deal with it, and ultimately they'll lose just because they didn't have enough cards in their hand. So I'm kind of focusing more on the math aspect of the game for this deck's playstyle. I'm really keeping track of the number of cards in my opponent's hand and how many I can get out of his hand before I drop my plays or drop my monster and, make another push. And then moving forward with that, we also played 2 copies of Mr. Crowley. Mr. Crowley's insane. I actually was playing him at 3. I'm really mad that I cut the 3rd. I actually need to put a 3rd one back in because I've upped the consistency of my hand traps and kind of just make this deck more powerful going second, because I was realizing when I go first, I really do just win down flat. Just flat out like going first, especially with one of the newest additions to my main deck to shut down hand traps so that I don't get hit by Astral Droll. So I was like, I really need the consistency of that 1-card combo. Granted, you do have, I believe, 8 ways to get into this card. It wouldn't hurt to have a 3rd copy of Alistair in the main deck, because it came up in the past where I went through both copies of him and I couldn't even, search my Meltdown off of Terraforming. And Terraforming was the only card in my hand. So I still believe firmly that I should play 3 of this card. I just have not found the space at the moment, but I'm definitely going to make it happen. Then I play 1 copy of Blue Boy. All my spellcasters are foreign. I just really like them that way. You don't really need to play max rarity. This isn't like necessarily a budget deck, and I'm sorry about that, but I do have a lot of budget decks on my channel for you to see. But yeah, you gotta play the ulti Blue Boy. You're never gonna draw him. This card has saved my life. Not only being able to just draw 2 cards like basically a Pot of Desires, but making the Invoked for the Spiral matchup, for the Paleozoic matchup. Sometimes the Pendulum Magicians can't deal with them. If they've already dropped their Ignister, then everything they have after that targets and or destroys. So it's like their next bet is to be like, oh, I'm gonna try to go into, you know, but not Baguska, Utopia the Lightning, and you're like, nah, man, Solemn Strike, nah, man, Masterpiece Pop. Like, it's really, really strong, so I like it. So Blue Boy has dual application in the deck. So I actually play 3 normal summons and 6 monsters in total. This next portion of the deck is probably not gonna be you know, too popular to a lot of people. Well, not, I wouldn't say popular, it just might not get the most positive feedback because nobody likes hand traps, but I actually happen to be a competitive player. You know, I play at YCS and also regional level tournaments, so I really need to play cards like this so that I don't downright auto lose just because I lost the dice roll. The way I play this deck, I want it to win even if I didn't win the dice roll, if it makes sense. So versatility is really, really key to this deck. If you go first or go second, you want to be able to still play Yu-Gi-Oh! Without just, you know, having like just one turn you just die just because you didn't have a hand trap. So we play 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. We also play in tandem with that 3 copies of Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. The applications that these decks have outside of the Spiral matchup are actually insane. We all know that Ash is downright one of the most versatile of all the hand traps, but Ogre has her days where she can hit Void Imagination, she can hit the Void Vanishment, she can hit field spells that don't have effects like when this card's activated, for example, Union Hanger. She can't hit that. Obviously, she can hit the second effect. She hits boss monsters in your way in the Invoke matchup. Whenever they're activating Makaba or Raijin, you're just like, kill it with Ogre. She can actually take out Sleeper if you've already, basically like, this is how I did it. And this is a really cool story. I actually outed a Sleeper with an Ogre, because my opponent activated Sleeper. When I activated Meltdown, I already had Masterpiece on field. And he changed Sleeper to pop Meltdown in my face down. My face down was Spellbook of Secrets. And I had said it the last turn. So I was, you know, trying to search for Alistair and then draw 2 and then fuse. He popped the Meltdown and the Secrets. Well, he targeted those as sleepers. Then I chained Ogre, and he's like, my sleeper can be destroyed. And I was like, do you have any response? He's like, no. And then I'm like, chain Masterpiece, target Last Resort. Last Resort got popped. It reversed in backwards order, the chain link resolve. So Last Resort dies. Ogre kills Sleeper. Then Sleeper kills my Meltdown and my Secret. And Sleeper blows up his entire field. And then I just popped. I'm sorry, I didn't pop his Super Agent. His Super Agent came out. At that point, I just poked over Super Agent. He just scooped. So Ogre is just really, really powerful. She hits, you know, the graphs in the Pendulum matchup. I could talk all day about how powerful this hand trap is, but she's really one of my favorite at the moment. She's gotten me out of such tight situations and binds. Even though, you know, Ash stops effects, Ogre really deals with the problem sometimes, which is really, really necessary. That's why I like playing 3 of her, in my personal opinion. And then continuing on with the hand traps, we also play 3 copies of Joel and Lockbird. This card has more synergy now than it ever did because of a new engine that I'm running in my deck, where I'm actually able to clear your entire hand away from you and you can't draw it anymore. And it's not Trick Stars, you guys. It's actually the original hand loop. I'm going to show you once we get further into the deck profile. You'll see exactly how. But basically now Joel and Lockbird can shuffle your entire hand and you can't draw any cards. So I have a combo just like Trick Stars do. So there's like a lot of win conditions that I have to this deck now, where, you know, I don't even need to make Masterpiece sometimes. I don't really need to do fusion plays. I can kind of just grind it out, poking, and just clearing my opponent's board, stopping his play, shutting him down with the hand traps, the strikes, you know, so many different ways of disruption. That's why I play so many forms of disruption, because I'm trying to, like I said, clear as many cards out of my opponent's hand as possible. So yeah, that combo is really, really insane. And that's one of the reasons why Trick Stars can kill you going first. And now my deck is able to do the same. I can be like, you know, I won the dice roll. All right, let's take your whole hand away from you and see how you do with my Masterpiece with no cards in hand now. And then, of course, you may have not even been surprised by this next hand trap that I'm about to show you, but let's put them up here. It's actually a Cypher and Gear Gamma. This card was in my side deck, and I actually was doing a lot of test hands, and I take this deck to like almost every single local It was undefeated up until the point where it went second place, and then now it's back to being undefeated, which is really dope. And Gamma has saved my life so many times because I have a lot of play starters that are spells, so I'm susceptible to Ash and Droll a lot of the times before I even get the chance to normal summon, like Terraforming, Spellbook of Secrets, you know, cards like that. Even when I'm playing like my actual field spells, my diagram, when I'm activating Magical Meltdown, you know, there's a lot of ways that my opponent can cut my play short, like especially if they try to resolve Droll after Terraforming. And that's where the application of Gamma comes in to not only stop that hand trap from cutting your play short, but you basically took a card out of your opponent's hand and wasted their hand trap. Then you make Cypher and Little Omega snatch another card of their hand. Now they're playing with less cards than they started, which makes it a lot easier, especially if Omega hit the right card in the first place, like that Dark Hole from my Masterpiece, for example. And of course, you have to play the obligatory Driver. This card's pretty nice. If you ever do draw it, you can always just fuse with it with your Alistair, so you know it's not always going to be bad when you draw it in this deck in particular. And finally, to finish up with the hand traps, we play, of course, Maxi, the best hand trap in the game. So this deck, if I don't win the dice roll, I'm not even worried about it. If I do win the dice roll, I'm really happy. And if I do draw a lot of hand traps, I'm still happy because this deck has the 1-card combo, which is Alistair. So if I draw 1 Alistair and 4 hand traps, and or 1 Alistair, 3 hand traps, and a Solemn Strike, or an evenly matched, you know, I'm not even mad at that. I'm really happy. So like I said, this deck really doesn't lose going first or second. The deck, only way that I can lose now is if I don't play my cards right, or if my opponent outmaneuvers me and out-resources me. And that is definitely going to sum up the monster count. Now we're going to go ahead and move forward to the spells of the deck. We played 3 copies of Double D's, which this field spell gets you the win a lot of the times. It's just really strong. It adds in that additional protection because, like I said, you know, Masterpiece really only dies by battle. That obligatory 1 Dark Hole Raigeki, it's a rare occasion that you see it, and you can also counter that card with your Invoked Mechaba, and you play so many spells. It's just smart if you make Mechaba and Masterpiece to always keep a spell in hand just at the offset chance, oh, they might have the Dark Hole or the Raigeki. So it's really nice. And then, of course, True Draco Apocalypse adds an extra layer of protection to Masterpiece because now, you know, he has to be destroyed twice by battle with your diagram on field. And even if they out-diagram, you can use Apocalypse to half their monster's attack and defense. Now they cannot attack over Masterpiece. And since he's unaffected by the card effects that they have access to, you know, your Masterpiece is going to stay. And you more than likely will just win that duel just at that basically default effect. 2 copies of Magical Meltdown. I call this card the Hot Sauce. And we also play in tandem with that 3 copies of Optimus Prime. Terraforming is very versatile in this deck. It could be the 1-card combo in the form of your Alistair, which this could equal Invoke Mechaba, or it can just equal game. This also can just be your Masterpiece right there. In addition to that, for consistency, we play 2 copies of Spellbook of Secrets. You gotta play the ulti Terraformings, the ulti Secrets, and you'll never draw them. And we also play 2 copies of Spellbook of Knowledge. This helps you to solidify yourself and also dig a little deeper in your deck for either hand traps or, you know, stronger traps. Stronger cards like Strike, which is one of my favorite traps at the moment. In addition to that, since I don't play Pot of Desires, which I really don't like for this list, this is the best +1 in my opinion anyway. So it just helps me to get the same +1 that Pot of Desires would have offered, minus the, you know, the drawback and the basically you could say the really not only a drawback, but basically minus the potential gamble of you losing to your own deck because you could banish your 1 invocation that I play. You can banish your 1 driver and have a dead Gamma in hand. I only play 1 of each of the True Draco spells, and these are my card choices. I play 1 of certain things, so that's why I can't play Pot of Desires without losing to myself. So it was too risky, and that's why I chose the Spellbook engine alone for the draw power. And for more draw power, we also played the True Draco spells, which I play 1 of each. I love their effects, but they do nothing by themselves. That's why I play 1 of them each, because they really are garnets, in my opinion. I don't play a full-fledged Draco engine, so it's not like I contribute these for, you know, Majesty Maiden and be like, I'm a search Masterpiece. These are here to either make Masterpiece unaffected by spells or just to draw through your deck, and also to recycle your True King's Return, your Masterpiece, your Calamities if you need to make them again. It's just really good. So Disciples is a bit more versatile than Heritage a lot of times, but Heritage is insane in the True Draco mirror match because you have the potential of drawing 3 cards. And then to sum up the spells, we play the 1 invocation. Personally, 1 works out for me. I hate breaking. I hate drawing this card when you don't need it. In addition to that, it's never really came up where this card got banished by Cosmic Cyclone. But if it does, you now have the application of Cypher and Lord Omega, which will just put it back into your grave. You'll put it back into your deck, and you'll still have Invocation. So 1 is perfect for me. There's no reason for me to play more. Then I also main deck the 1 Raigeki. I used to main deck Dark Hole and Raigeki, and obviously I chose Raigeki over Dark Hole if I was going to keep one board like in the main deck, because this one doesn't kill me. It only kills my opponent. And that's going to sum up the spells. I'm really enjoying how the deck is functioning. Its performance has been quite impressive, and it's just kept me really satisfied. That's why I haven't put this deck down, and I just keep running it. And just keep taking it to every single event that I see possible. For traps, I main deck 3 evenly matched. As I stated in a lot of these deck profiles for my Draco Invoked deck, I love having versatility in my main deck to have the option to go second or first. Sometimes I can just blind second. If I have a feeling that, you know, I'm moving forward to the top tables and I'm like, I'm going to start seeing more and more spirals, I'm going to just blind second and be like, well, I've got every single possible broken card for going second except Winter Cherries in my main deck. I'm more than likely going to draw 1 to 2 of those cards and out their board. So it really does help. Like I said, you lose the dice roll, you're still not going to lose the game. So I like this trap in the main deck. And because my deck doesn't really control a lot of cards, it doesn't require, you know, scales like Pendulum Magicians. It doesn't require a huge fill of monsters like Spirals. It doesn't, you know, have all these cards that you really need to set like Trick Stars or Paleozoics. This trap is always live whether you draw going first or second, because you could just set it and, you know, make your opponent banish cards they control until they have 2 cards now, which, you know, depending on if they had a huge board, that can still be very, very detrimental. And also if they ever out your Masterpiece or your Invoked Fusion, now they're just banishing cards till they have 1. So it's a really powerful trap. It also, you know, you can always discard it for Makaba to negate, you know, any trap that you say fit that's not counter trap. So Makaba can negate, for example, Time Pendulum Graph if you don't have a Ghost Ogre. So there's a lot of ways to stop every single card that would be a problem for you. I also made 3 strikes and 1 warning. These are good going first cards. So evenly match is more or less my going second trap, and the Solemn Brigade is for my going first. This increases my ceiling exponentially. If I open up with a Masterpiece, a Makaba, a Ash Blossom, and Joy Spring, and a strike in hand, I've got it. I've literally got game right there. That's too much disruption. It'll leave my opponent at 1 to 2 cards in hand, and even at that, if they can bait Masterpiece, Makaba, Strike, and Ash, they have 2 cards left in hand to deal with that board, which is insane. And then I play 2 Apocalypse and 1 Return to sum up the trap lineup in the main deck. Apocalypse has been a bit more relevant for me because I've been using it a lot more to actually protect Masterpiece from being attacked over in the damage step, which is really, really dope. I like it a lot. And it also helps me to play through boards because I can just use it to pop a Draco spell or trap, pop a card or spell trap or monster, and then have their attack and defense. And it's really, really dope. And proceeding in main phase 2, you can still do the effect to tribute because it's during your opponent's main phase period. It doesn't specify 1 or 2. That sums up the main deck. I'm going to do the side deck now. I play 3 Artifact Sanctums. This is an engine I've been wanting to play for a very long time, and I'm really happy that I have the space to main it. This card, oh my god. This card is ridiculously powerful in your Spiral matchup, your Pendulum Magician matchup. This card is a blowout against ABCs. I'm going to show you my targets because my targets, one of them is a bit different than most. I normally would have played 2 Scythe. I don't even care for Lancia because my deck does not lose to evenly match. I've never lost to evenly match. I rarely ever control enough cards. If you ever are playing against me and you draw an evenly match, you've literally just drawn a dead card because you can make me banish nothing. I'm more than likely going to have a field spell and a Masterpiece or a Magical Meltdown and an Invoked Makaba. And that's probably going to be it. If I have a face down, it's going to be 1 strike. So you're basically banishing maximum 1 card from me. So evenly match does nothing. That's why I didn't even think Lancia was relevant. And I'm glad that I didn't have to waste space for Lancia because Moral Attack has applications outside of the mirror match. Because Moral Attack can downright, you know, just pop Diagram. It can downright just pop the Draco spells and traps or pop the baby Dracos. It's just really, really powerful. But it also, since it does not target, it can destroy Sleeper. Like, for example, if your opponent happens to make some kind of board and you're like, oh, you know what? Instead of summoning Scythe, I'm just going to summon Moral Attack off of my Sanctum once you special summon Sleeper. And Moral Attack's going to resolve as a separate chain, of course. And it's when you summon Sleeper, don't give them the chance to play Last Resort. So you'll be like, on the summon of Sleeper, chain Sanctum. Bam, bring out Moral Attack, separate chain, destroy Sleeper. Even if Spiral Resort is on the field, Sleeper is still going to die because Moral Attack does not target. So he's just going to destroy Sleeper, and this card alone will destroy a Spiral's board. It also can just destroy any cards that can be targeted. It hits the Time Pendulum Graph. It hits like any problematic card that's in your way. Moral Attack is really, really, really powerful. Very, very powerful. I'm not even overhyping the card. He's really, really strong. He takes threats head on, just like my Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit does. I love this card so much. He saved my life. He's just killed so many decks by himself. And the best example I could have thrown out there was definitely the Sleeper. The Sleeper's so annoying. Really hate playing with that card. I mean, playing against that card. And Moral Attack is just like, who cares if your Spiral Resort's on the field? I'm not targeting you. I'm just destroying your Sleeper. Blow up all your cards. And this card's even worse if they reveal a Super Agent and pop this. You're going to flip this. You can then summon Scythe. And then you're like, bam, separate chain, separate chain. This is going to pop any of your cards. And if I'm not mistaken, it does target. So let's see. Yeah, it does target. So it's going to pop any of your cards that can be targeted. If you don't have Resort, I'm going to pop anything. Then Scythe's like, no Spiral combo, no double Helix. I don't even need to waste my Winter Cherries. I don't even need to waste my hand traps at this point. You're done for a turn. So this is like lose a turn. This is almost like resolving Droll and Lockbird against Spirals. And then, of course, it can actually hit Pendulum Magicians, believe it or not. Because even though they can Pendulum Summon from the hand, what do you think they're going to do next? They're going to go into the extra deck. They're going to summon Siphon Omega. They're going to summon Baguska, Time Star, Tornado Dragon. If you flip this against them, they're just going to Pendulum Summon from hand, pass turn. That's it. And the only threat that could potentially be there if they were able to search it is Time Pendulum Grab. Ghost Ogre, Invoke Macabre, bait it out with a freaking Magical Meltdown. There's so many different ways that you can win because of this engine. It increases your ceiling. And I really didn't have good cards to side deck for going first, so this was one of the best options I had because my side deck was full of going second cards, and in certain matchups where I had to go first, the only card I had to side deck really was Anti-Spells. And I was like, I need more cards for going first to hit different decks, and I want it to be a blowout. Anti-Spell's a blowout for so many decks, and so is Sanctum. So it just helps me to win more, increases my ceiling, and gives me more forms of disruption, more threats. I want to play as many problems as possible. So you have the million hand traps, you have all the board wipes, all the answers, you have Masterpiece as a problem, Invoke Fusions are a problem, you have all these problems to just clear cards out of your opponent's hand, which is really dope. 3 Ghost Reaper, this is kind of mainly for the Spiral matchup, and for the ABC matchup, and Pendulum Magician summoning Cypher and Lord Omega is annoying, or their Baguska can be annoying if you're trying to go for Invoke Fusions, but Baguska rarely hurts you because you're just dropping Masterpiece. Then personally, I'm playing 2 Raw Spear Mode, not because I want to, but because I had to make space, and 2 Kaijus. So things I would definitely do to fix up the side deck is find room for more Kaijus, you know, my Dark Hole, which I'm not playing right now, and my 3rd Raw Spear Mode. The extra deck might catch you off guard. I'm playing 1 Calamities, my Chlamydia. I also play the newest edition, which is Artifact Durindal. This is how you rape your opponent's hand. So what happens, because every deck searches, if you open with this and this, right, you're basically going to go like this. Your opponent activates an effect to search. After that effect resolves, you're going to activate Artifact Durindal. Then you're going to chain Droll and Lockbird to his activation. So what happens is, this is Chain Link 1, this is Chain Link 2. Droll and Lockbird resolves, then your opponent has to shuffle his hand back into his deck, but he cannot draw any more cards, even though Durindal says, shuffle your opponent's hand, make them draw the same number of cards. And both players do that. So the kind of the drawback is, you know, if you have a hand, you're going to be shuffling your hand too, and because Droll says neither player can add, you will draw yourself. But the funny thing is, when you resolve this combo, you don't really have cards in hand to begin with. They're either face down or they've already been played out of your hand. So normally, this is the last card in your hand if you're going to do this combo. And what it does is it shuffles your opponent's entire hand and he can't play Yu-Gi-Oh anymore. It's the similar thing to Trickstar Reincarnation and Droll. And I like it because it indeed increases my ceiling exponentially. Outside of that, this card is a negator. It actually allows you to negate one of your opponent's card effects and transform its text into this. Target a spell or trap you control and destroy it. So you can literally play, for example, your opponent's like, ooh, I'm going to activate Drone to fix your deck. You're going to be like, Chain Durindal. Drone's effect becomes target my Sanctum. And then you're going to pop my Sanctum. I'm going to flick my Sanctum. I'm going to Scythe or Moral Attack you. Then I'm going to pop another card. And I negated your freaking Drone. So it's really savage. I like it a lot. This card is just insane. He's so strong. Then Baguska. So you have rank 9, rank 5, rank 4. I call this card Syphilis because you just downright win. These two happen to be Cherry's targets outside of me being able to make them on my own. You play the obligatory 3 Macabre. Some decks just can't beat him. The fact that he negates and banishes makes him so powerful. This is one of my win conditions, no lie. Then we play 2 copies of Raijin. This is your auto win in the Burning Abyss matchup. This is one of the reasons why I'm kind of debating whether I even want to play Dante's as a Cherry target. Because if I get this and book him on one of their BAs, everything goes. They can't special summon BAs no more. Nobody plays Phantom Knights in competitive builds, so they're just done. No more rank 3s, no Dante. They're just like, oh, Floodgate City, but no field presence, which is important. So this is a win condition against him. Outside of that, there's a lot of decks that hit. You can't link someone with face downs. You can't XYZ or synchro with face downs. You can fuse with face downs. That's the one thing you can do. You can't attack with them, and face downs can't activate their effects. So if you have a BLs on the field and I book a Moon It, Masterpiece can pop that BLs whether it says I can't be destroyed or not, because he's face down. Raijin's insane. He's also how you make Durandal with your artifact engine. Then you have Purgatrio, Cocytus, and Kalika. Other win conditions. This is basically the bane of the Spiral matchup. They can't do anything. This is like skill drain, basically. This is, I can't get over you, so, you know, I have to kaiju you or lose. And this is, I'm going to OTK you going second. So these are really, really, really powerful fusions. This is my extension to go into Syphilis. I make this, normal summon Alistair, overlay into that, and keep, you know, just basically grinding with the Baguska and Masterpiece. That's one of my favorite boards, playing against, like, decks that have too much monsters and, you know, too much firepower with their combos or just too much synergy. Like Spirals is a great example. I'm going to be like, Baguska Masterpiece, no effects, pop, 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 attack, attack, attack. Really dope. And then my Cherries targets, which I happen to be able to make, are these. Double Helix, Buster Dragon, Omega for the Trickstar, I'm sorry, for the Pendulum matchup, because they make Omega more than they make anything else. And I also am able to make this card on my own, so it has dual utility. And this could have been the Toad or the Dante, but I haven't seen Burning Abyss enough, and I haven't seen Paleozoics anywhere in like a month. So I decided not to play these for the time being, and it gave me the option for this. If you're going second with your Cypher Gamma package, and you happen to resolve Gamma stopping a hand trap, for example, and your opponent has an established board, you just drop this, nuke their field, proceed to OTK them. It's really, really dope. So it just gives you options instead of playing just the one Omega. Because this actually came up for me where I've resolved one Gamma, made Omega, put Driver in Grave, and then made a second Gamma after, you know, like if you open with double Gamma, for example, and they're going Hand Trap City on you, they're like, ash you, you're like Gamma, Omega, clear a card. And then on their turn, you know, Omega's not going to come back until, I believe, your next standby. Yeah, I believe it's right here. It says, boom, 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 until your next standby. So you still control no monsters at that point. So your opponent's like, oh, I'm going to activate Tough. Oh, I'm going to activate Double Helix. You're like, Gamma. Again, bring out the Driver. You know, it may not live on your opponent's turn, but if you're playing on a matter where, you know, Omega comes back on your turn, you can clear him off. Gamma again, just because you know they're playing hand traps, so they can't stop your plays, they make him, and it's really dope. It's just like to increase your ceiling. Like I said, I wanted to have as many outs as possible, as many problems as possible. I wanted this deck to just win and never lose. With that said, God bless you guys. Make good choices. Don't hurt your brain cells. This was very in-depth. I understand it might be long for some people, so if you don't want to watch it, you don't have to watch it, honestly. It's here for those of you who are interested in it. But nonetheless, I love you guys. Make good choices. Don't hurt your brain cells, and you'll be hearing from me soon. Peace.